What's up, guys? I haven't talked about Wheel of Time in a while, actually, since my last review for the book series. That's not gonna stay. I'm going to be talking a lot more in the future because I have a lot more to say. I really went through some bad reading slumps after that, mainly just because of this. Like, I literally had such a good schedule going. I loved all of these Wheel of Time books. No matter what I say, I enjoyed all of them. And having that structure of reading them once a month was really fun for me. And having that gone is really, really weird, having it not with us. And I'm going to be tier ranking it today, so that's going to be pretty fun for you guys. Hopefully it's correct. I remember most of it. This is one of my favorite. I think it is my favorite series of all time. It is my #1 series. So I remember most of it. I can retain this, so I really love this stuff. So I'm going to be talking about it here today. This is not going to be a full review. I'm not going to talk about it in depth as much because I have full reviews for them on my channel. Many of them are long, but I'll drop the playlist down below. So if you really just want to go deep into the specific book, make sure check it out. I have reviews for every single one of these. And yeah, let's get into the tier ranking. Alrighty, hello. So this is my tier ranking for Wheel of Time, and I'm gonna start with Eye of the World. Now, Eye of the World is a great fantasy book, and what I mention a lot is it's a lot like Lord of the Rings, especially like the Fellowship of the Ring, like where it's the crew they need to leave, and people hate on it for that, but they act like it's not a good story. It's a very good story. Lovable Characters. Right now, I'm gonna put it in the A tier because of just like I really just love the story at its core. A lot of the stuff has not been revealed yet. Jordan does not reveal the stuff all at once, and he does a good job of just kind of slowly bringing it in. It's definitely really natural. I love the story. I love the characters of Rand, Perrin, and Matt. That trio, the Brotherhood, was set very early in this book, and I stuck with it a long time. And it really, really just gave me a lot of hope to finish the series. I'm very happy that I read that book. It was very, very good. Next is The Great Hunt. If you watched my Great Hunt review, I'm telling you, this book made me really think, yeah, I'm going to finish the series. 14 books, it was kind of a long shot. But Great Hunt is an automatic S tier for me because just of like, it brought everything up on another level. The Perrin stuff on that book, again, Perrin, like, because a lot of these books have different characters within the main center of things. The Perrin stuff in this book was fantastic. I just love him and the wolf. Like, the wolf is one of my favorite animals now because of Perrin, because of how Perrin reacts to stuff, because of him being in the way of the wolf. It's a fantastic, that's one of my personal favorite parts of the book. And the next one is The Dragon Reborn. I did not love The Dragon Reborn particularly as much. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I mean, obviously this is Wheel of Time, so all these tiers are very high up. This is in Wheel of Time. I'm ranking it as in comparison to other Wheel of Time books, obviously. I really liked this one a lot. Again, I said this was called The Dragon Reborn, but really The Dragon Reborn wasn't a huge part of the book until the end of it. There was a big scene that happened at the end, which I enjoyed thoroughly. But a lot of this didn't have The Dragon Reborn. And to me, when I was reading that, I'm like, where's my character? He had page time, not a lot though. Like, he had minimal page time in this book, I would say. He was there, obviously. He was there, but there was parts where I was like, where is he? And obviously it's not as bad as it is in some books, but I did end up enjoying this book quite a bit. Next, we have The Shadow Rising, and some of the scenes in The Shadow Rising are just crazy. I'm putting it S tier so far. It was my favorite when I read it. I love the part with the spear and the Aiel scenes in this book, flawless, and like just it's a fantastic book, and it really shows you how powerful Rand is. That shocked me. I really enjoyed this part. Next is Fires of Heaven. Now, I have a very classic reaction to reading Fires of Heaven. I'm gonna tell you, this was my favorite. I like it actually better than The Shadow Rising. These three books, Lord of Chaos, Fire of Heaven, Shadow Rising, are my three favorite books in the series. That trilogy, or that section, was all fantastic. It really explored our characters a lot, explored stuff like the Aiel a lot, and explored stuff with Matt. I love the Matt parts in Fires of Heaven especially. So again, I have a very classic reaction to this after reading it, because I had filmed my review right after I finished it, and I was losing my mind. I loved that book so much. Some of the stuff with some of my favorite characters were very interesting. There was a battle at this book. I love when the battles happen. I love when the battles happen throughout the book. Again, I talk about this in my Wheel of Time series continuously. Battles throughout the book are something I really love to keep it in, not just build up and then their final battle, what they're dealing with in this book. This one, again, had a lot of build up, but there was a final battle. And that final battle was very fantastic. I really loved it. I'd give it the 10 out of 10. I was freaking out. I think this is a really action-packed. I've never really read a battle like this before in a book. I've seen them in movies. Again, it's like a lot like Endgame, and I would compare a lot of things to Endgame, but like seeing it in a book is really awesome. And I had so much fun. This is like the entertainment level and like the knowledge level, like the stuff it fills your head with all this lore, but also how entertained I am is really great balance. I love it in this book in particular. And again, it doesn't disappoint in Lord of Chaos. Dumai's Wells is top 10 favorite scenes of all time. Dumai's Wells and just the whole book in general. It really shows the power of Aes Sedai, how they don't really agree with Rand. It obviously comes up in this book. It's a very long book. It's one of the longest, I think. And a lot of it drags. There's a lot of it that does drag. And I'm not gonna lie to you, there's some parts of this book I was pretty bored. But the ending was 10 times, made it 10 times worth it. I totally loved the ending. I loved kind of the ending quarter of this book was very confusing at times, but really just rewarding when I look at it. And I think greatly of Lord of Chaos. I definitely had a lot to say about it. I don't remember what I had to say, everything, but I have my reviews again down there. I know I'm putting a lot of S tier because I love Wheel of Time, but it's gonna change pretty soon. And Crown of Swords is the first book in the slog, but I think it's underrated. I'm putting it at C tier. But yeah, it's underrated because people think it's like, there's decline obviously, but it's not as bad as like slog. I definitely enjoyed reading this book, if that's what you're asking me. I love the Matt scenes in this book. This was really Matt's book, in my opinion, and I just had a lot of fun just like hanging out with him. Again, these have more characters in certain books. Matt definitely had a big role in this book, and enjoyed that. I enjoyed the Rand scenes. I enjoyed the parent scenes. There was not really much I disenjoyed. It's like there was like certain chapters, again, like it's really just chapter by chapter, and like it's not the whole book sucks, because there's some characters doing some storylines that I'm totally interested in, and some that are not, because there's so many storylines at this point that like some are a hit that I'm totally interested in, and some are not so much like a hit. So again, yeah, it's a mid book for me, but not as bad as people say. Something that is bad, as bad as people say, is Path of Daggers. Now I'm putting it at a D for disappointment. It's not a terrible book per se. It's more learning. He shoves a lot of the dumb description in this book. This is the book where a lot of parent stuff happens that I'm not the biggest fan of, or I think it drags on too long. I think it could have been here, but Perrin and Fael are a great storyline, and this one had dealt with that a long time. That's what I wasn't the biggest fan of, and yeah, it's just like, the thing is, this book had so many moments where I was like, oh, I just zoned out for like 3 pages. That was the book I was least engaged in, so I had to reread it a lot. It took me a long time to read this book, but I was the least engaged in this book. That's why it gets this, but it's not like it's a bad book. I still learned a lot from it, and I still enjoyed reading it at the end of the day. Next, we have Winter's Heart. Now, this was a book I'm going to put in the C tier as well. It's not that it's awful, but something that happened at the end, which was fantastic. I'm not going to spoil it, but it was a big thing between Nynaeve and Rand. And that was very interesting. I loved how Rand changed at this book, and you see him a lot more in this book. I'm not saying this is my favorite at all whatsoever, because the rest of the book kind of slogged in. It was kind of short for a Wheel of Time book. You can tell this was a little bit more rushed. But the ending had a big moment, and I love big moments in the Wheel of Time. They have these big changing moments, and I am here for it no matter what. Next is Crossroads of Twilight. Now, previously I said that Rand was missing for a lot of Dragon Reborn, 10 times worse in Crossroads of Twilight. There's 1 or 2 chapters maybe with Rand, and I hated it at the time. If you, this is my least favorite. I hated it at the time. That's what frustrated me the most, how you can write a book without the main character. Again, with the characters not doing anything. They're doing the same thing they did last book. And that's what bothered me. That was what bothered me. They were doing interesting stuff, but they were repetitive. It got repetitive at times, and it got descriptive at times. That's the only time the descriptive nature got to me. Other than this, I did not see it whatsoever. But this was a very, very good stuff. But obviously, too much of it. Like, I think they could have toned it down a little bit, put some more action, just like the regular, like the normal books he's had so much success on, like Shadow Rising, Lord of Chaos, have a lot of his like details in there, a lot of his setup, but having that beautiful action scene, and this didn't have as much. Knife of Dreams hits hard. I think my least favorite and my favorite Wheel of Time book are right next to each other. Knife of Dreams, S tier, wrong one, my bad. Knife of Dreams is an instant S tier. When I said about these things happening at the end of the book, not this one. This one was interesting start to finish. I couldn't put it down. And I'm so happy that it was a return to form. I personally liked it better than Lord of Chaos, which was my previous favorite. I had so much fun. I had a blast reading this book, which was really good to hear right now, because I was like kind of a little bit, like I didn't like talking bad about the Wheel of Time. Obviously, it is my favorite series, but this one is just ballpark. It just like launched it. And I love the matte scenes in this book. And I Perrin, it resolved a lot of the Perrin problems I had. And dude, like Rand happens to Rand, I lost it too. There was a lot of things where I lost it, and it was kind of funny to see me. I'd never have reactions like that to any of the shows or books I watch. I'm never really that connected. But when you read it with the character for so long, you care. And I certainly invested a lot of time into this book series, so I cared a lot, and I've never really seen myself react to something happening to a character like I did in Wheel of Time. Gathering Storm. I like this one a lot. I'm gonna put it in A tier. This is a great book. I have had just so much faith in Brandon Sanderson because I've had read Sanderson before, and he does a great job. This is the scene where it starts building up for the last battle. And I really like this book. It's solid. There's nothing too crazy that happens. Everything that happened I liked, but there's nothing really memorable. Like a lot of times, the thing that stops it for me in S tier is like a lot of times these books, something that happened major comes to my mind the moment I think about this book. This Gathering Storm, it's really not that. I'm not, have to think about it. Oh, this happened and this happened. But there's no, wow, this happened in this book. I loved it so much. And again, I liked it. There was nothing really wrong about it. I mean, the matte scenes, okay, like what? It was decent, but that was it. It was kind of mid for me, even though I really liked it because there was no really flaws in this book. Towers of Midnight. I love the Perrin scenes in Towers of Midnight. I'm going to put it right here. It's a fantastic book. It's, I love Perrin's arc kind of coming full circle, and a lot of these arcs are coming full circle right before A Memory of Light. I get nervous a lot, especially I love Tom and Julian, these people, like I've seen so long. It's kind of like a rush in this moment, and it's a rush. I loved it so much, and this is my favorite of the Sanderson books that he wrote. A Memory of Light is A tier. Why it's not S. It's a long story, but I had a journey with The Memory of Light. It was crazy. I had just like the craziest time reading A Memory of Light because of the last battle. I can't really spoil it, but the craziest things happened to all of my characters. I think all of the endings were perfect. That's why I love it so much. The endings send it off in the perfect way. You can tell Robert Jordan had written a lot of it. I love the last battle. The last battle was just like one huge chapter. And the setup to it was kind of boring. Again, there's the thing. If you're setting up for like the biggest battle in history, there's going to be a lot of setup to make it good. And it was fantastic. Lan ended perfectly. So did Matt and Rand, obviously. Perrin ended not as good as the other two, but I did like the Perrin ending. It was fantastic. It's just the other parts before that were just kind of like, whoa, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? You know, it's kind of boring. It took me a long time to read, partly because I was just taking my time. I didn't want to mess it up, but that's my ranking. I have a lot of S tiers. This is my favorite series ever, and this is my ranking. Tell me what your ranking is down below, but this is my Wheel of Time ranking. Thanks for watching. If you want to talk about Wheel of Time, I'm going to have a lot of videos coming out talking about the show in general and talking about some stuff like the future seasons of it and the rankings of my books. I have a lot to talk about, so if you have any things about Wheel of Time in specific you want me to talk about, definitely talk about them in the comments with me. And yeah, hope you guys are having a great day and see you next time.